Hello and welcome to a look at the Ghost Hunters for the Commodore 64, a game that was released by Codemasters. When it comes to the plot, it is lovingly short, so I can just read it straight up. Hunk Stuckbuckle's brother, Chuck, is trapped in Nightmare Mansion. He must rescue his brother and destroy the spirits of evil if they are to meet this side of hell. Does he fail or succeed? His fate is up to you. As you can likely gather, you are in control of Hunk, who has to navigate Nightmare Mansion in hopes of finding his brother. As he moves around, he will bump into various different objects that he can pick up, some of them necessary to activate lifts or lifts-like functioning things, whatever, but also various other items and very important healing potions or courage potions or whatever you call them. Not only do you control Hunk, but you also control a crosshair. And that is very important because you need to get rid of any enemies that spawns in on the screen. Whatever else is moving around as you enter the screen is perfectly fine, but enemies that spawn in on the screen has to be shot because if you look at the left hand side, you can see that you have a terror meter. And depending on how many spawned in enemies are on the screen, it will directly affect how quickly your macho energy will drain. So getting rid of those becomes incredibly important, and it adds an interesting, if unwelcome, mechanic to this game. Let's just get the technical aspects out of the way and then talk about the game after that. Graphically, considering this is a cheap wings game, it's not looking too bad overall. There's a certain level of detail thrown in on the different screens to give a sort of atmospheric feel. Because, I mean, it is a sort of spooky castle kind of thing, and while I'm not necessarily saying that anything looks particularly spooky, it sets a tone that works. The main character's animations can be a bit wonky, especially when you are ascending or descending staircases and doing jumps, but by and large, there's nothing to be completely dissatisfied by graphically. The sound side of things, the sound effects are decent. They don't stand out particularly negatively or positively in either way. They do what they need to do, and that's a bit. I know it's a bit of a cop out, but I mean it's not unfitting for the game, but there's none of the sound effects that are particularly super exciting and gets your blood pumping or anything. So what can you do? The music is bland. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not particularly exciting, and again, it sort of sets the tone of spooky castle kind of thing. But I don't think it is particularly interesting. The controls. Well, the controls are by and large what you hope them to be. I mean, left, right, up, down will do what you likely want them to do. But because of the fact that when you play this game single player, you are also in control of the gun sight. You need to hold down the fire button and then you will take control of the gun sight and then move around and shoot anything that spawns into the screen. I don't like that control setup personally. I think at some level it's a neat idea, but I also think it's an idea that doesn't work for a single player game. And that is where the design of this game definitely speaks to having been designed as a two-player game in mind, because you can play this game two players, where player one is in control of Hunk and player two is in control of the gun sight. And of course, that gives you a lot more freedom, because one player can focus on navigating the screens and the other player can focus on getting rid of the stuff that causes your matter energy to drain, like someone pulled the plug in a bathtub. It needs to be added that the gun sight has acceleration attached to it when you move it about, and it will rebound when you reach the edges of the screen, meaning that it can be a bit wonky to be in control of. Playing this game, personally, I did not find the mechanic of being in control of your individual and the gun sight thing separately to be a particularly enjoyable experience, because you are um, required, of course, to move around and navigate the castle mansion thing, but you have to be very, very cautious and conscious of any spawning enemies actually spawning, and get rid of them very, very quickly, because your matter energy will start draining. And even though you destroy enemies, as long as there's a micropixel of them still present on screen, it will continuously drain your matter energy. You also notice that if you are very, very close to a spawning enemy and you shoot them and you try to walk past them, you'll be slowed down dramatically, even though they technically should be off screen. And I feel, as a single player experience, the trial and error required in order to play this game with the energy, vitality, whatever you want to call it, system being what it is, that is just plain and simply too punishing and not particularly enjoyable. That being said, I'm sure that if you find someone else to play with, there's a good chance that this could be infinitely better and infinitely more enjoyable and significantly easier to make any sort of steady progress playing this game. On that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time. Bye bye for now.